All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a great week. Today we're continuing our review of our fourth BCBA practice exam, where we're going through the next 10 questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our proven study materials, please check out BehavioranalystStudy.com. We offer 3 practice exams, a task list study guide, and of course our combo pack. Once we finish the fourth exam, this of course will be made available to you, so be sure to check out all those materials. As always, questions, comments, let us know. Let us know when you pass your exam so we can include you in our Sunday shoutouts. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. 91. When using a multiple baseline design to evaluate a teaching procedure for 4 different children, what baseline should be intervened on first? Now, this question is a little tricky because whenever we think about multiple baseline designs, we typically think about graphs that we see and analyze, right? And they go in a particular order. If you're going with participants, they're in an order. Settings, they're in an order. But we don't just willy nilly decide when and where to intervene, right? Everything needs to be systematic. So this question is asking you systematically, what baseline are you going to intervene on first when using a multiple baseline design? And in this case, we have participants, more specifically, 4 different children. So out of the 4 children, how are we going to decide who we intervene on first? A, the baseline of the first participant listed on the participant list. That is not systematic. That is just random chance. Okay. A is not a good answer. B, the most stable baseline first, regardless of prior reasons for teaching students in a particular order. All right, we're getting closer. Stable baseline is very important, right? We're looking for that steady state. We're looking for a stable baseline prior to intervention. Now, the important part here is this prior reasons for teaching students in a particular order. If you read C, because remember, we always read all of our answer choices and you explain to yourself and you tell yourself why answers are wrong. So we always read every single answer choice. So C, it's nearly the same, right? We're looking for a stable baseline, except in this case, there are prior reasons for teaching students in a particular order. So if we're going to choose a baseline to intervene on first, we want to go with the most stable one, except when we do have prior reasons for teaching students in a particular order. If there's a reason we're going to pick participant A or B or C or D first, that's going to trump the stable baseline. If there are no prior reasons, then we're going with the most stable baseline. And then D, the most unstable baseline first. No, of course not, right? We're looking for that stable baseline. So when using a multiple baseline design, what baseline should be intervened on first? Well, the most stable one, unless there are prior reasons for teaching students in a particular order. 92. If your phone is dead and you walk downstairs to look for a charger in the living room closet, but there are no chargers in the closet becomes a what? Okay, think this one through, right? We are looking for a charger, okay? And the question is asking about the closet. So your phone is dead. You walk downstairs, you look in the closet. There are no chargers in the closet. But earning the charger or finding the charger is going to be the positive reinforcement. But you get to the closet, there's nothing there. So what has the closet become? A, an SD for positive reinforcement. Since we didn't find any positive reinforcement in the closet is not going to signal to you in the future there are charges in there. So it can't be an SD for positive reinforcement. What about an S delta for punishment? Well, it's not going to not signal punishment, right? Because if you open the closet and don't continue, okay, we're not sure whether or not punishment was there or not, okay? Because it's not really identifying whether punishment was in that closet or not. We're concerned with the reinforcement aspect. We're concerned with finding that charger, okay? So we can't really definitively say the closet is an S delta for punishment or not. But we can say it's an S delta for reinforcement. Remember, the S delta signals something is not available. We don't know if punishment is available or not in the closet. We don't have enough information. What we do know is the charger isn't available, so reinforcement isn't available. So the closets become the S delta for reinforcement. SD for negative reinforcement. Again, it's not signaling reinforcement's available. You are looking for the charger. You don't find the charger. The closet is now signaling to you reinforcement for the charger. Finding the charger is not available. So the closet becomes an S delta for reinforcement. 93, you're a BCBA working with the parent to design a contingency contract for your teenage client. Which of the following descriptions would fit best in the contingency contract? I think this is a pretty easy question. We are going to pick descriptions that are what? They're clear, they're complete, and they describe exactly what we are looking to accomplish, our goal, whatever we're setting out to do, right? Especially with the contingency contract, which is going to be a signed document for a client. You want your descriptions, right, to be very, very clear, okay? And let's look at why. So we're going to find the following description, which is going to fit best in the contingency contract. So A, wake up on time for 5 consecutive days. If this is all my description says, okay, that leaves a lot of wiggle room on what is considered on time, okay? Each day on time might be different. A school day on time is different than a weekend on time. And we can't be going through each day during the contract and litigating what's on time, which isn't. A isn't specific enough. B, put away all clean laundry, including shirts, socks, and shoes, before dinner time for 3 consecutive days. This is much better. It's telling us what the client needs to do. What do they need to do? Well, we know all clean laundry needs to be put away, including shirts, socks, and shoes before dinner time. It's very clear. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot of room for argument here. We know exactly what needs to be accomplished. B looks good, but keep reading. C, eat a few vegetables each night at dinner before dessert. Again, how do we define a few? My definition of a few could be different than your definition, could be different than the client's definition, especially if the vegetables change. Not clear, especially for a contract. The contract needs to be crystal clear, argument proof, because remember, you and the client should agree on it before they sign it. So A and C just aren't very specific. It's going to lead to issues down the road. B, put away all clean laundry, including shirts, socks, and shoes before dinner time. Clear cut, right? They know exactly what they need to do. If there's any clean laundry, it needs to go away, including shirts, socks, and shoes, and it has to happen before dinner time. B is easily going to be better than A and C for our contingency contract. 94, before I allow myself to drink a second cup of coffee, I make sure I get as much work done as possible. I tell myself that I either need to finish 2 items on my to-do list or I need to work for an hour and a half. What type of reinforcement schedule does this most resemble? Compound reinforcement schedule questions give people a ton of trouble. The compound reinforcement schedules are one of those things that I often recommend studying last. All right, condition motivating operations, compound schedules of reinforcement. Those are things that I think you might want to focus on last. Okay, if it's really giving you trouble, get everything else to 100% fluency and then go here. That being said, let's work through this question. Okay, we know it's a reinforcement schedule. Well, how do we know it's a compound schedule? That's what you need to ask yourself. Well, we have 2 types of basic schedules, right? We have a fixed ratio, right? The 2 items is the fixed ratio schedule. And then we have the fixed interval, right? An hour and a half. So when we have a reinforcement schedule composed of 2 or more basic schedules, it's going to be a compound schedule. So we can immediately eliminate A, okay? Because it doesn't just have a fixed ratio. That leaves us with an alternative, a conjunctive, and a multiple schedule. Well, we know alternative and conjunctive kind of live in the same family. What is a multiple schedule? Multiple schedule is 2 or more basic reinforcement schedules that alternate at random. These schedules are not alternating, right? I need, in order to earn my reinforcement, which is a cup of coffee, I need to finish or complete one of these schedules. And the key word there is or. That's what separates alternative from conjunctive. An alternative schedule must be, it has a requirement where either a fixed ratio schedule or a ratio schedule or an interval schedule needs to be completed. A conjunctive schedule says a ratio and an interval schedule need to be completed. It's a very important distinction. Again, alternative says ratio or interval. Conjunctive says ratio and interval. In this case, I need to do a ratio or an interval schedule in order to earn my reinforcement. What type of reinforcement schedule does this resemble? B, alternative schedule. C, which of the following scenarios best represents a rule-governed behavior? Remember, we have rule-governed behaviors and contingency governed behaviors, or really contingency maintained, however you want to put it, right? Some behaviors are influenced by rules. Some are maintained by contingencies. Okay, let's put it that way. So rule governed versus contingency. Okay, what's the difference? Well, in rule governed, the consequence never actually happens, right? In contingency behaviors, contingency maintained behaviors, the consequence is the thing that is controlling and maintaining that behavior. Okay, the rule governed just says, if you do this, this will happen, right? When we read signs or warning labels and then we do what the sign says or do what the warning label says, that's a rule governed behavior. The consequence isn't actually occurring, okay? We're just reading the sign or the rule and knowing it. A contingency, the consequence actually occurs to us and influences our future behavior. So we're looking for a scenario that represents a rule governed behavior. A, tomorrow morning, coffee will be ready at 8 a.m. in the office. You get to the office at 8 a.m. Has the consequence happened here? Well, no. The rule just says coffee will be ready at 8 a.m. So you get to the office at 8 a.m. Okay, you just followed the rule. There's no consequence yet for your action. We don't know if coffee was actually ready or not at 8 a.m. B, you get to work at 8 a.m. yesterday to find coffee ready. You get to the office at 8 a.m. the following day. So here, what happened? You got to work at 8 a.m., right? You found coffee ready. The next day, you get to office at 8 a.m. the following day. The consequence of finding coffee influenced future behavior. This is a contingency. B, you wear a suit and tie to the wedding. Last wedding, your friends shamed you for not wearing a tie. Again, last time you wore a suit and tie to the wedding, your friends shamed you for wearing a tie, or for not wearing a tie. So this time you did. Your behavior was shaped by the consequence and the contingency. The rule here is A. Tomorrow morning coffee will be ready at 8 a.m. in the office, so you get to office at 8 a.m. Irrespective of did the consequence happen, we're not sure. All we know is the rule, and you followed the rule. 96. When using differential reinforcement, assuming everything is implemented perfectly, how important is the magnitude of reinforcement being delivered for the replacement behavior? That's a wordy question, so slow down, right? We want to slow down and do all our work up front. What are we talking about? We're talking about the magnitude of reinforcement for the replacement behavior, and we're using differential reinforcement, all right? So we got to think about reinforcement for replacement behavior and how we want to deliver that reinforcement, okay? So A, the magnitude of the reinforcer is the most important thing. Well, not necessarily, okay? As long as that, reinforcement or reinforcer is functioning as reinforcement, that's what we're looking for, okay? The magnitude of reinforcement is not the most important thing. B, the magnitude of reinforcer is not important at all. Well, that isn't necessarily true. The magnitude may matter in some cases. C, the magnitude of the reinforcer may be important, but consistent delivery and control of reinforcement is more important. Here is what we're looking for, okay? Occasionally, the magnitude might matter. What's always going to matter is we want to be consistent in our delivery of reinforcement, and we want to control the reinforcement that's being delivered, meaning no bootleg reinforcement. We don't want to miss reinforcement. C is going to be the important aspect of reinforcement in differential reinforcement. And then D, the only thing that matters is consistent delivery and control of the reinforcement. Again, not necessarily. Occasionally, magnitude might matter, but what we want to focus on is consistent delivery and control. All right, so here is C. 97. James is taking an SAT prep course to prepare for the SAT exam. James's major issue is he runs out of time when he takes practice exams. James' tutor tells him he takes too long to think through each question, and he wants to change that. What is wrong with targeting thinking through each question? All right, be careful here. On the surface, it looks like a very straightforward question. And truthfully, it is. Questions like these, though, if you rush, you get them wrong and you miss easy points. So let's slow down and analyze what we're talking about. We're talking about the behavior of thinking through each question, all right? And that's what the tutor wants to focus on. And the question is asking, what is wrong with that? Okay, that's what we're focused on. What is wrong with thinking through each question as our target? A, thinking is not a behavior. Well, thinking is a private event, which is considered a behavior in radical behaviorism. Okay. B, thinking is an overt event that cannot be observed. Is thinking overt or is it covert? Well, thinking is covert, so be careful. No, thinking can't be observed, but it's covert, not overt. C, thinking is a covert event that cannot be measured. Is thinking covert? Yes. Can it not be measured? Yes. C looks good. What about D? Thinking is a private event and is not included in radical behaviorism. Thinking is a private event, but it is definitely part of radical behaviorism. What's wrong with targeting thinking through each question? Well, thinking is a covert event that cannot be measured. Why you have to slow down, all right? Easy question, but if you're going quick, you could easily mess up and pick C or D. B or D, all right? The way they're worded is forcing you to slow down and take your time, okay? You have to take your time. You can't rush through this test. You're going to make silly mistakes. And you can't make silly mistakes because one or two questions sometimes separates passing and not, all right? So we want to take our time. We want to be methodical. 98. Several factors can affect the feasibility of a behavior chain. Which of the following is not one of these factors? What is this question asking? It's basically asking what can impact the strength of a behavior chain or the effectiveness of a behavior chain. What has an effect on how effective a behavior chain is, right? We're looking at just the feasibility of a behavior chain. And we're looking at not one of these factors. So 3 of these will affect it, right? One of them won't. A, how thorough the task analysis was that led to the behavior chain. Well, of course, that's going to affect the feasibility. If you conduct a very good task analysis, the behavior chain is probably going to be better, right? So a thorough task analysis is going to affect the behavior chain. B, how long or complex the behavior chain is. Absolutely, right? If your behavior chain is extremely long or extremely complex, that's going to affect how feasible it is for the client, right? That's why we always personalize behavior chains. C, the schedule of punishment associated with the behavior chain. Is it the schedule of punishment or is it the schedule of reinforcement? What's the schedule of reinforcement, right? Not the schedule of punishment. And then D, the response variation associated with the behavior chain. The responses required are absolutely going to affect how feasible this behavior chain is. What is not going to affect it is the schedule of punishment associated with that chain. What we're looking for is the schedule of reinforcement. 99. Which of the following examples would best meet the behavior analysis goal of description? What are our goals? Description, prediction, control. Description, you're basically just describing what's happened, right? What do we see? What do we observe? Prediction, we're hypothesizing a correlation. Control, we're actually manipulating IVs, okay, and seeing their effect and trying to control DVs. We're looking here for the example that's going to meet the behavior analysis goal of description. So we're just going to be describing something, observing something. A, your wife always eats off of your plate. You know she hates barbecue sauce, so you put barbecue sauce on your food and she doesn't eat any of it. What have you done here? You know she's off of your plate. You know she hates barbecue sauce, so you add in this barbecue sauce and it affects her behavior. All right. This is much more close to control than it is description. You're actually manipulating things here. B, whenever you drink a glass of wine before bed, you sleep better. Now, we are just hypothesizing that wine is correlated with sleeping better. There's no experimentation going on. You're just predicting there's a correlation here. C, you operationally define the behavior of nose picking. This is our description, okay? We're going to empirically observe and then describe nose picking. It's just our description. We're not correlating nose picking with anything. We're not trying to control it yet. We're just describing it. And then D, you always leave your house at 7 a.m. so you're not late for work. Okay. Again, there's a correlation between leaving at 7 a.m., not being late. No experiment being done here. We're just correlating the two. You're predicting if I leave at 7 a.m., I won't be late. The only one where you're just describing a simple description is C. You operationally define the behavior of nose picking. And then 100, who do we attribute methodological behaviorism to? It's a little fluency question, right? Pretty straightforward. Just a check. All right. We're learning here. We're practicing. We're exposing ourselves. Who do we attribute methodological behaviorism to? Watson, Skinner, Pavlov, or Hewitt? Pavlov is classical conditioning. Okay. We think about him as classical conditioning. Skinner is radical behaviorism. We attribute methodological behaviorism to Watson. Lovely. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. As always, questions, comments, let us know. Work hard, study hard. I'll see you soon.